It started with the first team to implement this constitution in 2013. And I remember members of the National Assembly who were elected on the then Jubilee Party. And you remember the story of the tyranny of numbers.
Yes.
And people imagining that you are in parliament to defend the political party on which you were elected.
Yeah.
That is not what the framers of this constitution envisaged.
True.
They envisaged that parliament as an institution would oversight both the county and national governments. But then you get to 2013, and first of all, we end up with a leadership that did not believe in this constitution. It is on record that people like William Ruto were against this constitution. And therefore, if it is something that he didn't believe in from the start, there is no way you expect him to actively make sure that it works. In fact, they try to find ways in which to make sure that this constitution does not work. So members of the National Assembly have neutered all the oversight mechanisms that were woven into our constitution. You remember the incident where Anwar Guru was supposed to be impeached as a cabinet secretary following the NYS scandal. Then this mythical Inturi, who's now making noise here, disappeared somewhere in a hotel in Naivasha.
Just disappeared.
You know, this guy disappeared. And made sure that
she took on lighter duties.
And she took on lighter duties, and the rest, as they say, is history. Yeah, so that is part of the problem. And we have come from that situation to a place whereby members of the National Assembly who are elected on the president's party feel that their job there is to protect their presidency, so-called presidency. And you see, history has proven more times that mambo inabadilikanga in a second. So we have members of the Senate, for instance, who were very rabid supporters of this government, and they were from Murima. Right now in the Senate, they are the ones crying. The ones crying, looking at Sifuna, help us, please. Because when you are sworn in the Senate there, please, can you just be faithful to your oath of office and the work that people sent you to do? As an institution, as a Senate, we can take a position that is contrary to a position that has been taken by the national government. Even the leader of majority, the Honorable Aaron Cheruiyot, we tell him every day, if the president is wrong, you have a responsibility as a senator to say he's wrong. On this issue of RMLF, the president is wrong. Say it. Why can't you say it? You can tell him this is my responsibility as a member of parliament to be able to say you are overreaching as a central government, as a national government. That is the roads in Kericho County are the responsibility of the county government of Kericho. You cannot come to do rural roads. So that is the problem we have right now. That I gave you the example of the position that has been taken by both the governor of Kisumu, who's like the ideological repository of the party, and the governor of Mombasa in today's dailies is here. Is saying that the law is very clear, it's in black and white. It is not a matter for sentiment or interpretation. There are only two levels of roads. Let county governments manage county roads. Let the national government manage national roads. The crux of the matter, the reason why there is all this fight is money. Is the control of who is the contractor who's coming to do this, and how will they talk to me nicely, and so on and so forth. A member of the National Assembly has said it himself. He has told you that they inflate the contract amounts so that they make money.
Why are these funds being seen as ticket items to go back to the monarchy?
Because you see, the problem with our Kenyan politics is also that the society has been socialized to expect things from people who are elected. That is the problem. That if you step out of your house without cash, you will run into embarrassment. And it has been very difficult. But I think it is our responsibility, especially as a younger generation of leaders, to educate the public that, in fact, me passing legislation that helps your life, like the amendments we made on persons with disability to support families who are living with disabled children, especially, and that suggestion actually came from a member of the public on Twitter. She's called me Shere. She just called me and said, we parents of special needs children are suffering.
Yes.
Why can't you reduce tax on such and such and things? That if I pass such a legislation, I have helped you more than if I just give you 100 bob today to eat like that thinking. And to advise them that, in fact, the political class tries its best to dissuade people from joining.
Exactly.
People from joining.
Right.
And it is a trap you should not fall into.
Yeah.
They try to make it seem like politics is a very dirty game, that it is an expensive game, that people who have pure intentions not to make any money but to just serve the public should stay away from. Please don't fall into that trap.
Yep.
Because I am a living testament that it is possible for you to enter politics without nothing. You know, they run around and tell you, oh, you need
35 million to be a senator.
35 million.
That's the number. It's 35 million.
It's not true.
Yeah.
When I ran in 2017, I didn't spend more than 3 million Kenyan shillings to run for Senate in Nairobi. I still ended up with 700,000 votes. I won 2022 spending less than 5 million Kenyan shillings in Nairobi. And that 5 million shillings is not at giving money to people. It is logistics, it is advertising. More than ready to be able to hold the hands of people who believe that this thing can be done without necessarily compromising your values or yourself.
Yeah.
I am there. That's why I encourage young people to join political parties that are established, because also political parties give you a certain cover.
Yes.
It is very difficult. As an independent candidate, my brother, trying to run for office, so you need signatures from how many thousand people, they have to photocopy their IDs and give you. Join political parties, and we are not forcing you. We are just saying that it gives you a certain
Cover,
yes. For you to be able to participate effectively in politics. But let nobody scare you. Let nobody scare you. We have seen people win elections without any money. But it depends on when you get there, what do you do in terms of changing the lives of the people? And I wish that we get to a point where there is critical mass in terms of the top leadership of the country of people who are just there to be able to serve the people and to demonstrate to other Kenyans that it is possible for you to join this club without necessarily, engaging in some of the things we see people. And the measure is very simple, Mark. If you see somebody who never, ever says anything on the floor of parliament, but he's the one giving you free borders and free. What are they? They're always dishing out during Easter. You see somebody unga ugali amekuletea nini. Then you ask that person, but when have you ever represented me? When have you ever proposed a legislation to change my life? They don't do it. Anakuambia mimi ni engineer.
So then it gives.
First of all, as a leader in Nairobi, I am amenable to questions being asked about my responsibility. And I want to, unfortunately, Mark, my car also flooded. So I usually have a constitution in the car, but it was removed when they were cleaning it. When the car flooded. I wish we had the constitution here so that we can read everybody's responsibilities. So as a senator, my job, my primary responsibility is to make sure that I obtained as much resources as possible for my county governor to be able to do the work that he's supposed to do.
Yes.
Fine. So I have fought, like in the example that I gave you about the feud that was between the National Assembly and the Senate on division of revenue.
Yes.
I made sure that we did not lose any money or we did not receive less money than the 385 that was given to counties.
Yes.
Yeah. So I on paper, I have been able to do my job to deliver 20 billion Kenya shillings in terms of shareable revenue to the county government of Nairobi.
Yes.
Now, you have an executive governor that you also elected.
Yes.
His job is to make sure that those resources are applied correctly.
Yes.
I sit in the County Public Accounts Committee to oversight all the counties, including Nairobi County. The governor of Nairobi has been before the Senate more times than I can count, including a few weeks ago when he was before the Energy Committee to answer to this feud between
KPLC
Kenya Power and themselves.
Yes.
And as a senator, I stand on the side of devolution in certain ways to make sure that he doesn't have an excuse why he's not performing.
Yes.
So we discussed about this provision of the law that says for a county government to levy basically taxation on Kenya Power for way leaves, they need the permission of a secretary, the cabinet secretary responsible for energy.
Yes.
And we have taken a position as a committee that there is no way you can place a function in the county governments, then make it subject to approval of a national government official.
Yes.
So we are supporting him on that. We're saying Kenya Power used to supply power only through their power lines. But nowadays, they are denying counties revenue by using that infrastructure to supply data as well. The companies like Safaricom and the others are using that infrastructure and paying directly to Kenya Power, money that used to go to county governments. So they are reducing their own source revenue. Now, if the governor, after I have defended devolution, after I have stood behind him, after I have gotten the money for him, if he doesn't do his job, Sifuna cannot beat him physically. What am I expected to do? Am I supposed to punch him in the face? You know, that is the question that I ask, because in the accountability ecosystem, there are limits. So the Auditor General will produce reports. The reports will come to us. And we will say, okay, here we can see there's a problem. We have recommended prosecution for 150 cases as a member of the Public Accounts Committee. Prosecution of professionals in county governments, including Nairobi. That recommendation goes to an institution called EACC. It is not up to Sifuna. I cannot arrest people. You know, I wish I had to do. What did we do? Because we realized that 500k is peanuts for these people. There was an amendment we brought to the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act to push that figure to 2 million Kenya shillings for failure to attend or to honor summons of committees of the Senate.
So now
we even made a proposal. In fact, we passed that proposal to give Senate and the Parliament of Kenya powers of arrest, because there was a time when my governor refuses to show up to Nini, and then you depend on the Inspector General of Police to arrest him. And you can see the guy is gallivanting. He's arriving at JKIA. You're like, bro, we needed to have a conversation. But you depend on the IG of police to effect those things. We passed an amendment as a Senate to give Senate. We even wanted our own jail. Because you see, Kenyans are frustrated. They say, Sifuna, things are going so wrong. All you do is talk about it. I'm saying that is as far as my powers go. My job is to highlight these issues, to bring them out, to represent the people, to tell the governor here and here you are wrong. So, for instance, the discussion we had at the Energy Committee, and we were telling the governor that, you know, when you have a conversation with Kenya Power, you cannot leave it in your head, because you will not be the governor forever. There will be another person to come. Can you reduce the things that you have agreed upon into writing, so that the next person who comes to deal with that issue can say, we had advanced this discussion between Kenya Power and the Nairobi County government to a certain point. You know, there was no written agreement on what was discussed between the Nairobi County government and Kenya Power. There have been very bold attempts to cripple county governments. As a senator, I can see it. I'm telling you, my brother, it is impossible for you to plan in an environment where you don't know how much money you're going to receive and you don't know when you're going to receive it. It is difficult to plan, you know. So, and this is the reason why I say that if we don't sort out national leadership, how I wish in 2013, when we were implementing this constitution, we got a leadership that actually knew why we created this structure and believed in it, you know. So systematically, we have seen the national government making it seem like it's a favor to send money to county governments. We have a pending bill in Nairobi, my brother, of 100 billion Kenya shillings. People who have not been paid, and they have worked. It is ridiculous. Since Kidero's time, you know. So how are you supposed to deliver services? So if, for instance, some of those pending bills are for garbage collectors, I have seen people come to my office. They had been awarded a tender to do garbage collection. You go to this heavy machinery, people who sell heavy machinery here. You got 2 tippers, you got a backhoe, and they calls you what loaders. My brother, you have taken those things on loan. You do the job. You wait 3 years for payment. The bank comes after you. The machines are repossessed. You are still sitting there waiting for the county government of Nairobi to pay you. We are saying there kuna zingine ni za ukora, but there are genuine businesses who did the job but have never been paid. And it is because it is very unpredictable for you sitting there as a county governor to know how much money you're going to receive. Now, that is not to say that there is no malpractice. Because I have said, and I've said this on the floor of the House, even as a lawyer, that there are certain things that are just openly criminal. You have a lawyer telling us that they are supposed to be paid 1.3 billion Kenya shillings for representing the county in a feud between a county government and the Ministry of Defense over a piece of land.
Yes.
And that dispute was actually resolved by consent.
Yes.
Like there was no dispute to the total value of the land. So if the land is 300 acres, you multiply by the price and you say, okay, the total amount in contention is 30 billion. Now I'm going to levy 1% of that.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's
it's ridiculous. So we have said as a Senate that we recognize that there are certain things that are happening in the counties that are just open pilferage. There are bad practices like governors coming and refusing to complete projects. We passed a motion to say that we do not want county governments to embark on new projects when they have not completed the old projects. You go to Woodley, the social hall there that was started by Kidero, it's just rotting there. I mean, it is a waste of public money. So when we highlight these issues, it is so that we can be able to find a way out. We are not defending bad manners in the counties. We know there is bad manners. There is this open fraud and siphoning of resources. And MCAs, there are certain counties where the MCAs understand their jobs. You know, in some of these counties, MCAs don't want to do their job. They want to hide behind the senator. You see an MCA crying at, Sifuna is not saying anything about Sakaja. I'm like, my friend, you know, that is why people like the late Munuve are being celebrated, because he understood his job. If you look at the constitutional architecture, is that county assemblies exercise primary oversight. As a Senate, we do what we call secondary oversight. I cannot impeach a governor unless you bring him to me. I mean, you have an MCA who is very good at writing tweets, but cannot draft an impeachment motion. You cannot draft an impeachment motion. You are telling me, and you know I have very high regard for all MCAs, but I tend to think that the MCAs in Nairobi should be somehow better. Because if you see somebody like Chege Mwaura, Chege Mwaura is a secretary, is MCA for Ngara, and is a secretary for the County Assemblies Forum. If you hear Chege Mwaura speaking, and he presents himself like somebody who is even his member of parliament level, even higher. I do not expect, I don't want to mention MCAs from other counties, but I'm saying that the MCAs in Nairobi, because we are the capital, we need to be held to a higher standard. Now, if MCAs from Meru, if MCAs from Meru can draft impeachment motions like every 3 months, and then you are telling me you are the MCA of a highly educated populace. You come from the poshest,
high net worth.
Correct, high net worth area. All you do is to draft tweets saying, the senator, you will not hear Sifuna saying anything. Bring him to me. Bring him to me.
What I will do.
Draft a motion. For heaven's sake. Even try to convince your colleagues to sign up. Show us even a draft
something
motion.
and then we can help you do the rest.
You can't just be crying there, Sifuna. I'm telling you, as a Senate, I tried to simplify it for them, give them football analogies. You see, in a football team, there is a defense, there's a midfield, there are the striker. Now, me, I am here. I'm like Kevin De Bruyne.
Okay.
No, I'm like, what is his name? Haaland. Now, Haaland has to wait here for Kevin De Bruyne to pass
to bring the ball.
Yes. And then I do my job. But we started our grassroots elections. And these days I have to keep checking the calendar. Today is the 24th of April.
It is.
By the grace of God, I'm still the SG of ODM. It appears like that founders meeting has not happened yet. Whenever it happens, I will be disciplined.
Perhaps those are the things we are talking about.
So
have not happened in a
now
minute.
let me speak as SG because mkutano ya founders bado haijafanyika.
You're too funny.
Some things have not happened.
Hiyo mkutano ma founders bado wanatafutana. So we started elections in November at the polling station. So ODM structure is that at every polling station you have to have representation. I am a registered voter in Westlands, in Kitisuru Ward. So I go to Loresho Primary School where I vote, and I ask the members there to vote me as a member of the committee. Because for you to be elected at the national level, you need to be a member of your own polling station's committee.
Right.
So I went there in November. There was no fight, there was no fuss. And we have been encouraged by the party leadership that when you go into this contest, they are friendly contests. It's friendly fire. Hata ukipiga mtu upigi kuua. Kwa Kiluya wanasema ukupe bikelezo ukupe murweta. Yani unapiga mguu, not the head. Yeah, so I mean, we finished that in November. There were appeals from certain areas where people were not very satisfied with what happened. We sorted out those appeals. There are elections that were nullified in places such as Embakasi West. In certain areas and even in Taita Taveta, we stopped the election process. So then this month, I think it was earlier this month, we had the elections for now, the ward and the constituency level. And right now we are in the midst of dealing with appeals from those processes. Now, as SG, first of all, I don't involve myself in elections because Baba said all of us now ni raia. I mean, during elections, you cannot be calling yourself so-and-so chairman. Na bado elections inaendelea.
Indeed.
So we all have to subject ourselves to that process. We are not perfect in doing. In fact, the problem that I have is that this government has systematically ensured that political parties are unable to conduct their business. Yeah, because you need money to be able to do these things. The estimate for conducting like elections by secret ballot for ODM across the country is over $1 billion shillings.
True.
These guys, if you look at the amount of money that was allocated for us, it was 300 million shillings this year, and it was cut down twice, you know?
And so that's what would
leave us in institutions of democracy such as political parties. So that is why they try to cripple us. But we say that we must proceed